Welcome to We Drink and We Farm Things.
This is the farm comedy podcast that is an adult happy hour for the farming community.
We drink adult beverages, talk about the ups and downs of farming things, and give zero clucks about not having the perfect farm life.
We keep it real with you and share the mistakes we've made and what we've learned so you can feel less alone in this farm thing.
We drink things, we farm things. We drink and farm things.
Oh, hey there, Sam.
Oh, hey there, Bev. What you drinking today?
So I just opened a Masthead Brewing Haunted Hayride Pumpkin Ale. And it's an extra large can. It's delicious. Masthead is a brewery in Cleveland, and they are delicious. So I'm a fan.
Very festive of you.
Yes. So what did you open over there?
So I opened a Blake's Hard Cider Apple Lantern. It's got a spooky can, but it is a roasted pumpkin hard cider. And this is part of that get the bushel thing that I've talked about a few times too. So I like that I got such variety in that pack because I don't need a 12 pack of this, but I wouldn't complain if I had a 12 pack of it either. But it's just really delicious and seasonal, easy to drink. So highly recommend even after Halloween.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Our drink peep this episode is Jenny back, and she is a new drink peep. So welcome, Jenny. Thank you. Cheers. And we can also thank Jenny because now there is one more episode coming out per month because all of our drink spots are filled. So now we're releasing 6 episodes a month again. So everybody tell Jenny thanks.
Yeah, rejoice. More content for you. Yeah,
that's right.
So it looks like we have some follow-up this week.
Yes, we do have some follow-up this week. And the follow-up is all about the scarecrows. And more specifically, the Japanese Kakashi scarecrows.
Oh, tell me more.
Yeah. So this is actually really interesting. And I'm kind of wondering, so part of me is kind of wondering if the unpenned history of scarecrows is just that most of the scarecrow folklore is from Japanese culture. And so that's why they say it's unpenned, because it wasn't, from the dominant culture at the time, if that makes sense. There is going to be a link in the show notes to this really cool blog post. It's called Japanese Mythology and Folklore. And it's specifically about these Kakashi. And there's actually a really long history of Kakashi.
Cool.
And some of it's really, similar, they're out there very specifically to protect crops from the crows and, other things that go and eat crops. And they're made out of things like rotten vegetables or food and all sorts of really scary things. And actually the word Kakashi is actually derived from a meaning of something that smells hideously awful.
Nice.
So that's what Kakashi means. And there are tons of fascinating tales and legends surrounding the youth and the character of the Kakashi in the rice fields in Japan. So if anyone wants to dive a little further into that, there is a link in the show notes. This blog post is so long, we could have done an entire podcast episode just about Kakashi. And there's also some folklore in here about Kabiku, which is the deity that can't walk, that was mentioned in that Modern Farmer episode that we used last episode. And so it's really fascinating. I have to recommend everybody go see it. I was trying to pick a favorite story from it to tell during the follow-up, but there was just so much I couldn't decide.
Nice. All right. So speaking of Modern Farmer, our source for today's episode is again from modernfarmer.com. And it's an article from 2016 all about Halloween's agricultural roots.
Oh, hey.
Ooh, So we're excited to talk through that today, since it's almost Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. Even though I don't really have anywhere to go and I'm not going to dress up, but but I still love it. So I guess we can just dive right in.
Funny sidebar really quick. I usually don't dress up for Halloween. I love Halloween, but I just don't really do anything for it. But this year I will be dressing up only because the dress rehearsal for my ghost walk is the same night as Beggar's Night.
Oh, nice.
So we're going to get in our like full dress rehearsal, get up and then take the kids to Beggar's Night, take a break during Beggar's Night to go do the dress rehearsal and then go back out.
I love it. It's perfect. All right. So Halloween's ancient roots are as much about agriculture as it is scary costumes and jack-o'-lanterns. So it was believed the Halloween's origins lie in the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, which was celebrated from October 31st into November 1st, marking the end of the harvest season and the beginning of winter, which boo winter.
Can I just tell you how relieved I am now to know how to pronounce Samhain or Samhain? It's Samhain. Samhain. Oh my gosh. I have pronounced that word wrong probably a dozen times on this podcast.
Oh, me too.
Every time it showed up, I think I was calling it Samhain because that's how it's spelled phonetically, but it is so in, like as in you are sowing seeds into
the ground,
even though we're harvesting them.
It doesn't look like what, or it doesn't sound like what it looks like at all.
So Samhain was a time of the year for the Celtic peoples of England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, northern France, and Brittany to bring their cattle from summer pasture to slaughter. And it was also a time to slaughter the livestock that probably wouldn't make it through the long, cold, hard winter. And they would also hold celebratory feasts to consume the meat and other foods that would easily spoil during this time, because this was life before refrigeration. Yes.
And this was also a time for fairs, regional markets, and assemblies, and the brewing of mead and beer following the harvesting of grains. We're all about that. Love that for us. So our modern conception of Halloween is based on this Celtic belief that Samhain was a time when the boundaries between our world and the other world, a place inhabited by the dead and the supernatural creatures like fairies, monsters, demons, and the like, were lowered. Ooh. So the inhabitants of the other world could make their way to our world, and unsuspecting humans could find themselves in the other world by accident or trickery. Villagers would dress in frightening outfits to try to fool these dark and dangerous creatures thought to be roaming around at night, which is really funny because and I'm wearing a Hocus Pocus shirt. You Can't Sit With Us, and it's the Sanderson Sisters.
Love it.
So, and it's funny because I was kind of watching it the other day, and it's like they are out at Halloween night and they're wandering around and they're just like so confused by all these people trick-or-treating. So it's like technically it works.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it totally works. That's hilarious. And when you talked about like humans accidentally finding themselves in the other world, I was immediately reminded of Harry Potter, the episode where Sirius accidentally went through the arch, because the arch was like the barrier to the other worlds, but you couldn't come back once you ended up on the other side. That was basically your death. So
wow. Don't do that.
So in Scotland, Samhain was a night of chaos when young men would dress up in costumes to impersonate the spirits of the dead. And when they did this, they would pull pranks on people, and they would generally cause a ruckus, like I guess young men in costumes do.
I mean, I would venture to say that the young ladies also could cause a ruckus too, but probably depends on the time period.
Yeah. I mean, if
they were allowed.
I was going to say, if it was 1800s, they were not allowed. I have been watching all the period things, and that just looked no fun.
No ruckus for you.
No.
So in Ireland, turnips would be carved and used as lanterns, which gave rise to our modern practice of carving jack-o'-lanterns, which I don't think a turnip probably has the same heartwarming feeling as a jack-o'-lantern from a pumpkin, but that could just be ingrained in me culturally.
Well, and they probably look kind of scary because aren't turnips white?
Are they? I don't know.
I think so. I guess I don't really eat turnips, so I don't know. Someone that eats turnips, tell me what color they are, but I'm pretty sure they're like these white bulby types of root vegetables with like lots of leaves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like a big white radish.
Basically, that's what I'm picturing in my head, but I could be wrong. You can tell I don't eat turnips.
Yeah, me neither.
In Wales, food and drink would be left out for the dead, which may have led to the idea of giving treats to costume folks representing the dearly departed.
This was an interesting bit of information too, because I never understood the whole bobbing for apples thing, but apparently bobbing for apples was a way to predict who you would marry, derived from a long held belief by the Celtic people that apples could be used for fortune telling.
Interesting.
Yes. So there is some conjecture that ties between apples and Halloween, going all the way back to the Roman conquest of Britain that began in 43 AD. It's a long time ago. Women were definitely not causing a ruckus then.
No, they were not.
A Roman harvest festival dedicated to Pomona, the goddess of abundance and orchards, thought to be celebrated on November 1st, may have somehow merged with the festivities of Samhain. Many scholars dispute this, believing this idea was based on a misreading of an early Roman text that described a fest that was actually held in August for Pomona's godly consort. Oh gosh, Vertumnus. That sounds a lot better. And Vertumnus was the deity associated with the changing of the seasons and the harvest. What we can say for sure is that the Romans brought their love for apples and a superior knowledge of how to cultivate fruit trees with them to the British Isles. So that's where the apple bobbing came from.
Interesting. I'm so glad that's not how we pick life partners anymore.
Yeah. Could you imagine?
Ugh. And Christianity began making some inroads in the Celtic world as early as the 1st century AD, but it didn't really take off until Constantine the Great began championing the religion around 312 AD, which helped to spread Christianity throughout the empire. And as the Catholic Church began supplanting various older religions, Christian holidays were often superimposed on the dates of traditional pagan ones. So if you've ever noticed the overlap, that would be the history behind that.
Yes, that was on purpose.
It was on purpose. And the reason why they did that was because a lot of people are super into their traditions. They like the things that they do. Traditions give us a feeling of comfort and a feeling of normalcy. And whenever you're making a cultural change, like a religious cultural change, to make it more palatable for people, it's easier to just, put things together and make them feel familiar.
Yes. So it's believed by some scholars that was the case with Samhain, with the introduction by the Church of All Hallows Eve on October 31st, All Hallows Day, more commonly known as All Saints Day, on November 1st, and All Souls Day on November 2nd. Ooh. But in Ireland, Scotland, and Wales, remnants of the earlier Celtic traditions remained alongside the Christian holidays. So these traditions eventually came to the United States, and by the early 20th century, Halloween had become a secular holiday, mostly for the young, with trick-or-treating used as a way to keep the kids from pranking and vandalizing things, which had very much been associated with the night.
Yeah, Halloween was always kind of associated with a ruckus.
Yes.
That's the word I'm looking for. And one holiday that wasn't mentioned in here, but might actually overlap with All Souls Day, is Dia de los Muertos, which is traditionally practiced in Mexico. I do believe that it is a primarily Catholic type of holiday, if I'm remembering right. I might be incorrect on that. But there's a really great kids movie that I really love, and that all the adults I've ever told about loved. And if anyone wants to know more about Dia de los Muertos, The Book of Life is a movie that I highly recommend you watch. My kids loved it, and I still love it too. In fact, I should watch it this week with them.
I think Dios de los Muertos is one of those holidays that religion got sucked into to do like that hybrid thing. I could be wrong, but if I'm remembering from some past research, because it is kind of a darker thing, but they also have like the spiritual aspect linked into Catholicism to kind of tie it all in together. So somebody can fact check me on that if that's wrong, but I think that's what I've read previously.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful holiday, and that movie does a really good job of kind of explaining how it happens. And I thought about it because last night I went to we have a speakeasy in town.
Yes, I saw your story and I meant to say something.
Yes. So it's I forgot the name of the drink already. I think it's the Dia de los Muertos Sour. It's got bourbon in it, marigold tea, a splash of Malbec on top of it, some lemon and lime mixed in there. It's a really good drink. But I was over there because I was dropping off a bag of marigolds to her because she needs more marigolds for marigold tea. And so she's going to come here and pillage all the rest of my marigolds because I haven't had time to pick them for her. So she's just going to come take them all. And I'm like, yes, please do, because I will feel good if they get to go into a fancy drink.
Yes, that's so cool.
Yeah, it is. It's really cool. So that was why I was out on a Monday night at a speakeasy drinking liquor.
Well, I kind of thought that too. I'm like, because I have no sense of time right now. So I was like, what day of the week is it? Bev is like living her best life. Like that was my thought, was like, she's just killing it lately.
At a bar, 9:00 on a Monday.
For a good reason.
And it was farming related.
Yes.
I had no idea that marigolds would be the thing that got harvested the most and used the most from my farm this year. But
here we are. Mine still look great too, because we had like a partial frost, but we haven't had a hard frost yet, and they're living their best lives in my garden still.
Oh, good.
Yes. So just to wrap this up, I know we talked a lot about sewing and other traditions, but it's important to remember that Halloween actually was born from a celebration of agriculture. And that's pretty neat, which is why we decided to talk about that today, because we want to be seasonal, but also keep it agricultural around here. All right. So it's We Can't Even corner now.
Yay.
So Bev, is there something you can't even about this week?
Yes. So I just realized that talking about the marigolds thing was going to be my can't even, and I spoiled that already.
I wondered. So tell us more though. Tell us more, if you will, about how that connection was made. Like how somebody like put out a Craigslist, like, I need marigolds, and Bev's like, hey, I got you. Like, how did that happen?
So her name is Tara. She owns the bar. And she's actually one of our friends. So we know her. We know her through friends. So we're friends with her through friends. And we go to Steiner's Speakeasy is the name of her bar all the time. And she's actually an award-winning mixologist. And her bar is really special because all of the drinks that she makes, everything that goes into them is handcrafted. So she makes all the syrups, all the sauces, all the mixes, everything. And she has 2 drinks that have won awards. One of them is that Los Muertos Sour, the one that we just talked about. And that's why she needs more marigolds, is because she's supposed to take it somewhere to be judged. And so she needs like all the marigolds. Apparently she has to make a lot of them. And she makes marigold tea out of the marigolds is what she's doing, and puts the pretty ones in as a garnish. And then the other one is I Love You Elote, which is a drink that is made with a Mexican street corn syrup. So elote is just Spanish for corn. But whenever I order elote, what I mean is that I want street corn. And street corn is sweet corn that is covered in a really great mixture of mayonnaise and lime juice. And then you sprinkle chili powder on it. So you can get, I think it's called tamarind from the grocery store. It's that chili vegetable fruit mix that you can put on it. And that's one of the things that you can put on it. That's what's used in the drink. But I actually buy a seasoning from Trader Joe's just called like elote, and it's got like the chili and the lime and like some cheese and stuff in it. And you like sprinkle it on your sweet corn, and oh my gosh, it's so good. Is one of the things that held over from growing up in the Southwest, essentially.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah, and that drink is really delicious. It's one of my favorites. She still has it on her menu, so if anyone's local to me, they can go to Cider Speakeasy and still order that I Love You Elote drink. I don't know when she's going to take it off, but I wish I could find sweet corn simple syrup, but I can't. So I'm thinking of trying to make some though.
Do it.
Yeah. So what is your can't even this week?
So mine is that we processed our first, I'll call it like subset of meat birds last weekend. I think on the last episode I talked about like, oh, we're behind, but it's fine because these chickens are great because they just keep growing, but they're not like breaking the legs or anything like that. So my husband and I decided, well, let's try to get through at least a couple to see like what in our setup works, what doesn't work so well, and just kind of like rip the Band-Aid off and do it. Cause we haven't processed meat birds before, and we were going to take them to a processor to have them done. But not only are they backed up like a couple months, but they just raised their prices too.
Oh, yeah.
Which I don't blame them. But now it's like, I will not be taking these to them at this point, because it's just not with the rise in cost of feed, at least right now. Hopefully it goes back down someday. But it's almost like an additional $2 bag, depending on what you're buying. And their price, I think, went up $1 a bird, which isn't terrible. But it's an increase. And when you're taking like 30 birds in, that's another $30. And when, you're like me and you can't take them right away and you're feeding them an extra $30 a week right now, like, it's a good skill to learn. And I wasn't sure how I'd feel about it, but after watching like some YouTube videos, I was like, okay, let's just go do it. My husband did all of the culling this time, because I did all of the gutting.
Oh, yeah.
Gutting. Because my hands are smaller than his. He's got big hands. So fitting it up a chicken probably wouldn't be super cozy for him. So we did the culling part, and then you scald, and then you put it in the chicken plucker, which highly recommend a chicken plucker. Oh my God, worth every penny. If you want to keep the skin on your birds, like there were still some feathers on it. We just ripped them off. Not a big deal. But I did get some videos. My plan is we're going to try to finish them this week. We're going to try to get some videos of our setup improvements, because we did order better knives. We ordered this cool like sink setup, because I said, oh my God, I would kill to have a sink right now.
Yeah.
Because we're like taking the hose between filling up the scalding pot and then connecting it to the chicken plucker, and then just disconnecting it to clean out the bird and then wash our hands. Like it just adds on a lot of time. So we got this cool sink set up, and it's stainless steel, and there's enough room for me to process the birds on there. We might get a bigger scalding pot, but what I'm actually using right now is my ball bath canning canning bath water thing that I got.
Mm-hmm.
Because it gets hot enough and it's super easy to control the temperature. And then I got the first bird and like I cut off the legs because I was like, this part's easy. And then it was like I forgot everything I learned on the internet and my hands are already dirty. So I'm taking like Clorox wipes and like wiping my hands and like looking up videos.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay. So like the first bird probably took me like 30 minutes to gut because I just was super like not wanting to cut anything and having poo everywhere.
Yeah.
But it turns out like they're actually a lot more it's harder to break that stuff open than you would think, I guess I should say. But by the end of it, I was like gutting a bird in like 2 minutes.
Good. Yeah, it does get easier.
Yes. And I was like, this isn't grossing me out. Like it was a little weird the first time, like, cause it's warm, guys. Like you're putting your hand up a bird and it's like, oh my God, it's warm. This thing was just running around my yard. Like, but once you kind of get over that, and then it was not a big deal. And then we just threw them in a cooler and then a couple hours later, dragged them all in the house and quartered them all, which was very time consuming, but it's so nice to just have the parts that I want separated. So, and I got a vacuum sealer too. I'll link to that one I have in the show notes because it works super well.
Oh, awesome.
So nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we have probably like a little over 20 more to do. But I think with our little improvements in what we learned, like it'll go much faster because it took us like, I'd say we were out there for like 3 hours and we did like 10 birds.
That's not too bad.
I think.
It's actually pretty good.
Yeah. So we'll try to see if we can pick up our speed a little bit. I'm going to just do some whole chickens this time too.
Yeah.
Just because there is nice value in that. But man, that's a lot of birds. But I already contacted our friend Kendra over at Meyer Hatchery with my next round order to put in, and turkeys.
Oh, nice.
Can't put turkeys in a plucker, but
I didn't know that you couldn't.
Yeah, they're just too big.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure there are pluckers out there that you could put them in, but the one that we borrowed and the one that we will buy, which is basically like the one we borrowed, they won't fit. But my plan for most of the turkeys though is to grind them up into turkey burger.
Yep, ground turkey is useful.
Yes. And I have a meat grinder for my KitchenAid. So I also put in the order for that and requested all heritage birds. So I'll be able to do like one at a time if I want to.
Oh, nice. Yeah, because they can hang around a little longer. Yeah.
Yes. And keep some of them back so I can hatch my own.
Nice. I like that idea.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to seeing a Tom running around your yard.
Yes.
I like their
Probably
feathers.
multiple.
Makes me go like this. Name him Dandy.
Dandy. Dandy Randy. Like, yeah. Maybe then I'll have some good turkey stories like some of the people in our Facebook group.
Oh, yeah. All birds are hilarious. I've been a big fan of raising them. It's on topic. So last night I was out and someone asked me if we were going to process our own meat chickens. I was like, yeah, we've done it a couple times before. And he was like, ooh, cold. I was like, no, not really.
No, it's different. It's definitely different. I was surprised. Like, it's sad. Don't get me wrong. And I did feel a little bad, but you kind of get over that pretty quick. What surprised me was that I got a little grossed out when I was eating it.
Oh, so I don't think that that's necessarily uncommon.
Yeah.
And in fact, and that is kind of one of the things that I feel like has been true for me. When I raise the animals here myself and do the processing myself, I do appreciate it more and that I'm more careful in how I use it.
Yes.
So like I won't end up wasting a ton of it. But I can totally see getting grossed out by the first couple. And I've had that happen
Yeah.
too, because they are a little different than grocery store, or like if you go to
Yes.
the butcher, they're better at getting all the stuff, and they're better at cleaning them up nicer. Whereas I find that myself, even when I'm like, quartering or I'm doing the different sections, like mine always just end up with more bloody veins in them, or more.
Yes.
And some of that is skill. So that always
Yeah.
grosses me out just a little bit. But I think that with time, you get better at those types of things, so that you don't get grossed out by those funky things that you run into, because you just don't run into them. But also I do think it's something that you just kind of have to get used to. And one way you can get over that is have someone else cook it. Yeah. Like if you could get Matt to cook some of the chicken for a little bit, then you didn't see it come out of the freezer. And I know that sounds really weird, but it totally worked for me when I was pregnant. When I was pregnant with Aurora, I could not cook the meat and eat it. I would start to take bites and I would just like gag. Like my body was physically rejecting it. Yeah. But if Jared cooked the meat, then I could eat it.
Okay.
So I want to say that it might be something similar, like, because your brain's just like storing all of that, and you need to get over that mental roadblock.
Like I was so excited. Like I pulled it out of the fridge because I let it rest for like a day. So I pulled it out. I was like, oh, this is awesome. And like, I think I just cooked too many things at once. So the breasts were done, but the leg thigh combinations were not. And like, I was like, and I like bit into it to kind of test it, because I was like, it says it was hot enough, but maybe I didn't stick the thermometer in the right place. And like, I spit it out. So I had that mental, but then I was like, you know what, let's eat some of the salad and potatoes and the chicken breast, because that was done. But like, even as eating the cooked chicken breast, I was like, had that mental of, oh my God, this thing was running around in my yard. And then I had my hand up its ass, and then I pulled all the guts out, and I looked at the testicles, because we did all roosters. And then, cause they were all bigger. Yeah. So I figured just don't risk their legs snapping. And then like, I was just like, it kind of like had to process it, and then be like, no, this is why you did this, was so that you could have it in your, in your freezer, and you did everything except for like carry them here through the mail.
You didn't like burn them.
Yes. But like by the end of eating the chicken breast, I was like not gagging.
Okay, good.
And then I had a chicken wing, and it was freaking delicious. So like I had to get there, but now I'm a little gun shy about the thigh leg combination. So I need to split those apart. I think that'll help me, but I didn't want to waste it, but I was convinced it still wasn't done being cooked even after putting it in for 30 more minutes or 20 more minutes. I gave it back to the chickens.
Oh, it didn't go to waste. That's
so
good.
They ate their brother and sister, I guess, or their brother. Yeah. It was just a little morbid, but I didn't want it to go to waste.
No, I helped it.
Because you're right. I do treasure that meat differently in my freezer and look at it differently than I do the frozen chicken breast that I get from Walmart. It is interesting. So it'll be interesting to see how long those 30 birds last.
Yeah.
But my next round, I asked to come around the first week of February. So by end of April, I will have to have enough freezer space for them. Yeah. Long can't even, but I wanted to let you guys know how that went, and I'll try to get some YouTube videos up too, so you guys can learn from a newbie, and maybe somebody can point out something that I could be doing better too. So I'm all about efficiency.
It's how we learn.
Yes.
I haven't looked at the calendar. I don't know when I'm supposed to do mine. I think mine's the week before Thanksgiving. I probably should have just taken that whole week off, because my plan is to do the chickens for Thanksgiving instead of a turkey.
That's right.
So I did not order a turkey this year. So I hope that the chickens are ready.
Yeah, I'm sure they will be.
Yeah, I think they're going to be too. They're pretty big. It's time for mine to move outside. They are still in a barn stall. And that's just because I haven't had the time to move them, but I'm going to put them in my chicken coop And then I'm going to put the
nice.
temporary ranging gates back out so that the flock and the meat chickens can be like quote unquote free ranging. They're fenced, but they, have grass and
more
bugs and things
space.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, more space. So it's not raining today. So I'll go out and mow around the coop and get that set up. And then maybe I can move them tomorrow. I won't move them tonight because our first frost is supposed to be tomorrow morning. So I'll wait to move the chickens outside until it's not a frost. That way they can slowly acclimate to the 30 degrees.
There you go.
Yeah, because they'll be sleeping outside the coop. I've got like a covered, it's a covered run that they'll sleep in. So they'll sleep separately from the egg chickens, just because my egg chickens are mean. I have a feeling my egg chickens will pick on them.
Probably. Sassy bitches, right?
That's right.
All right. So make sure you send us your can't evens or farm stories in our Facebook group. You can also put those in an email to us at drinkandfarm@gmail.com. Also, we do have a phone number. I know we talk about it occasionally in some of our commercial spots, but I got an email from Google Voice telling us they were going to cancel our number unless I called somebody from it. So I called myself a couple times yesterday, but we haven't had a voicemail since like April. So if somebody is like itching to ask us a question or itching to tell their farm story and not type it out, do that. You can call our phone number. We'll make sure it's in the show notes.
Yep. And be sure and leave us a review. We read one Apple Podcast review on the show per week. And the review lever gets put into a hat so that they have a chance to win an exclusive coffee mug that is not and will not be in the shop. And I have been loving people sharing their coffee mugs on Instagram, by the way. I've seen a couple purchased coffee mugs that have been shared, and those are awesome. But if you have been a mug winner, please feel free to share your exclusive coffee mug, because if I see it, I'll totally reshare it.
Yes. We have no review this week. I will have to double check and see if we had any for October's episodes.
There may not be a winner.
Yes, but that means you can go leave your review for November if you haven't left one yet, so you can be entered to win, because you want that mug. It is so cute.
Oh, it's super cute.
Don't even have it. You guys need it.
Yeah, I don't have it either. And before it leaves the shop, you definitely want to go get that Halloween magic mug. I got to figure out, I need to just like start a highlight or something on our Instagram, because the video that Ashley Davis did of her Keurig filling that magic mug, so the magic mug is all black, and as her Keurig is filling the cup, the design is coming to life on the outside of the mug. And it is just so cool. I saw it and I was like, oh, why don't I have that mug?
I know, same. After I saw that, I was like, I need to get that mug before we take it out of the shop. Yeah. Unfortunately, we can't even own everything that's in the shop because it's just so much, but we try to get them eventually, and we definitely have our favorites. Yes. So make sure you head on over to Patreon, become a patron if you're not already. And if you're at the $5 level or above, you're going to get access to our exclusive weekly show called Straight No Chaser. It's generally about 5 to 10 minutes, and we just give it to you straight with some fun topics. So go to patreon.com/drinkandfarm. It's a great way to support the podcast and get a little something extra from us.
And be sure and hit the subscribe button and download the episode when you listen, because this helps more people like you find the podcast.
And while you're listening to us, you can share that you're listening over on your Instagram stories and tag us at Drink and Farm. We're going to send you a promo code just for that episode. It'll give you a percentage off in the shop. And you want to do that because we're about to launch all of our holiday merch. And oh my gosh, we tried to narrow it down and failed miserably. So there's going to be so many options. We went balls to the walls this year with our holiday. We went big instead of going home just for you.
Oh my gosh,
there's some
that's
really
so
cool,
cute.
unique stuff. Yeah. And I'll drop a little spoiler because we're not sure how it's going to be received, but we do have some kids sizes and stuff this year. So get excited because I am, and I don't even have kids.
Yeah, I literally have no one to send those to. Actually, no, I take that back. I'm sure that I do somewhere. But we did we did kid appropriate designs.
Yes.
In the kids
Yes.
stuff. The kids stuff does not say drink on it.
No.
Because we do not believe in
toddlers should not be drinking anything but milk.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just I don't really like those jokes either.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. They just rub me the wrong way personally. So I don't even like to pretend like kids drink anything other than milk and water.
Maybe some juice.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. So we were really careful about what we picked for the kids' designs, but we're really, really excited about them. And I guess another spoiler is some of them are ugly sweater inspired.
Yes.
They're really good.
Yes. So we are aiming to have those out next week for everyone. Our patrons and people signed up for our newsletter might get earlier access than everybody else. So be ready. Yeah. Very exciting stuff.
Yeah. So if you want that early access, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/drinkandfarm. Or you can get on our newsletter, and there is a link on the website to do that.
Yes. And make sure you take a look at all of our show notes to find links to the articles we discussed today, a survey to tell us how we're doing, links to our social media, and that merch shop. Very important. So make sure you look at those. And that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks so much for hanging out with us for our special spooky Halloween episode.
Yes. Have a safe and happy Halloween. Celebrate. I realize probably not everybody celebrates, but
yeah,
if you do, eat some extra candy for us. And until next time,
drink,
farm,
and give
0 clucks.
We
Bye,
drink
guys.
things, we farm things.